my questions were around sustainable cities in Africa. What would you say are the peculiarities in Africa? Because it's not the same as in Europe, or we have to have completely different considerations. So what would you say are the key considerations?
We had cities before colonial rule, well, pre-colonial cities, like Zimbabwe had Nigeria and Ibadan and so on. But with colonialism, the character of African cities changed. First of all, the Europeans, the colonial masters, mainly Britain, Germany, sometime, and the French, they did not believe that Africans should have cities. They believed that cities were places where politicians could create problems. They wanted Africans to remain in the rural areas and produce palm oil, cocoa, and so on. Towns were not considered suitable places for Africa. But with the end of colonialism, these cities just developed rapidly. So the main difference is the scale of development. African cities have developed very rapidly, very, very rapidly. But they are doing so ahead of the development of institutions. You need proper institutions. In Europe, the cities develop gradually, and as they develop, the institutions for managing them develop gradually. Maybe 1,000. So we talk of instant cities. The African cities are instant cities in the sense that they are developing millions. No management, no infrastructure, so that's why you have a very large informal sector, because there are no industries. Formal sector is not capable of providing. Just in Europe, you had that kind of. But the tendency then is to take the European model and say the formal sector should lead the way. Everything that is not formal is illegal. But in Africa, the informal sector is strong. It should not be criminalized. People should be allowed. So if you take town planning, the legislation, the rules, most of the laws in Nigeria about cities were adapted from the 1946 Town and Country Planning Ordinance, which was a colonial legislation. We haven't changed them. We haven't rethought. We haven't said, what kind of city are we going to use the Nigerian Town and Country Planning Ordinance introduced by the colonial government? We have not sufficiently reviewed the legislation which we inherited from colonial. These colonial laws were meant to build ideal cities for European, you had the European reservation, then I am a historian. What I did for my PhD was how Europeans conceived the African city, how they planned them, the segregation, the rules that governed them. These were all selfish rules. They were not meant, they did not anticipate the cities that have developed into what they are today. They were thinking of small cities where Europeans and those who served them would live, and with a building-free zone across the European reservation and so on. But with the end of colonialism, this became the cities just over, even in Nigeria, even in some of the, Lagos was growing too rapidly, and people said, no, let's leave Lagos. They abandoned Lagos and built Abuja and planned it very beautifully, hoping it would grow. Before they knew it, big informal settlements had encircled this.
That's true, because in Kenya, every really posh area has slums nearby. Everywhere, even almost next to the State House.
Yeah, this is the thing. You plan, and then the people are just pouring in, and they can't get into this thing. So they build it. And then there's running. It's like a bushfire. It's like a fire service kind of approach. You see a big, you try, and then they relocate and you go. Yeah, that's what people are saying. You should plan ahead. For how long? You have to go there. You have to clear. And people who live in the cities need the informal sector. They need mechanics to fix their cars. They don't have SCO or USC in the city to service your cars. There are so many cars. You need the informal mechanics. And you don't need to locate them miles from, vulcanizers, people who pump your tires.
Yeah.
You don't need them to be located outside. They're all over the place. Your drivers, you don't want them to live in the village. So formality and informality are so inter. I don't know if you understand.
Yes. Have you heard about Konza City in Kenya?
No.
No, it's a sustainable city where they intend to have business process outsourcing, and they've set aside like 5,000 acres in Machakos. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now they want to set up a sustainable city. So my question is, from your experience, what are the very particular things that they need to consider in terms of sustainability? And the second question would be, how do you think we can incorporate the informal sector with the plans? Because the plans for Konza City, if you look at them, they're all, I don't know, I'd say white collar jobs, and there's no room for. And at the same time, we have the largest slum settlement in East and Central Africa. Yeah. So I wanted to find out what exactly do you think are very unique to Africa that need to be considered when it comes to building sustainable cities, so that we just don't pick and plant a plan from Europe or from America.
Yeah. It's a very difficult thing because people will say you should rethink, you should retrain the trainers, you should change the curriculum.
Yeah.
Because what we have are people trained I was trained in England, Canada, and maybe I need the people I teach what I know.
Yes.
So education, the whole curriculum about planning has to be rethought. The city where I live was planned by Professor Galante, and he tried to introduce Budapest, the model of building Budapest, into building Owerri. So the whole process of planning has to be rethought. It's difficult because nobody gives what he doesn't have. If you have a PhD in planning, it's probably on the European model. So these planners and the planning systems have to be made more realistic and more compatible with the African situation. African situation is not just approving chaos, but it's being more realistic and realizing that even these model cities you build, they are not empty things. I mean, you must be thinking about who will live there, what functions will they perform, what role will they play. Okay, sometimes they create these things to decongest the main city. People can commute, the rich people can. Too many people here, so build these new cities so that you can decongest the cities and so on. People can. But even in the new model cities, you need to make provision for people who cannot, because of, even though they are needed, they can't conform with the rules. They can't build proper houses. They don't need to hire architects to build it. They have, to establish a business in Nigeria takes several processes. You have to apply, it takes months to be approved, you have to pay money, you have to bribe your way to formalize it. Otherwise, it's illegal.
Yeah. And
people don't have the resources to register their businesses, to acquire land from government, there's something they call certificate of occupancy. Before you get it from government, it takes years. The land I have in Owerri, I'm an old man, but I don't have the CFO yet because it's such a nuisance. You have to survey it, you have to pay this, you have to pay that, you have to pay that.
So are you saying that they should leave some land for the informal sector, for people to put up their shanties?
It still has to be. People say you should plan so that there can be incremental. You shouldn't say from the word go, you must conform to this standard. You should make provision for incremental development as resources improve, so that over time, the man in the informal sector will have the opportunity to improve his own, invest his resources. But if you outlaw him from the word go, he will leave it like a slum. I mean, because he can come and bulldoze it the following day. But if you say, yes, this is the minimum. I mean, you can't live without a toilet. You can't do this. These are basic. I think that everybody can do that. But then gradually you must do this and upgrade your structure and so on, upgrade your business without foreclosing it from word go. If you say, oh, no, this is illegal, we can't accept that, then people say there's something wrong with the law if it is breached by 60% of the population. I don't know.
Yeah.
There must be something with it. Not that, they are breaching it deliberately. If it is breached in the normal attempt to be alive, this law is breached by 60-70%. You must rethink the law.
Along those lines, would you say that Africa does not require over-regulation?
Yeah.
Would you go so far as to say that?
Not anarchy. We don't want people to build on pipelines. There must be regulation. But over-regulation is the problem. People say, if you control land so much that it's difficult to acquire land, then people will have to live somewhere. Illegality. So over-regulation and too many rules and too many hurdles force people into informality. So it's striking the balance. On the other hand, people are saying if you want to live in the city and you want water, you should be able to pay for it. You should pay tax. Government can't find this money from it. So it's a question of the informal sector, they have their problems. Many of them, there's adulteration of products, there are many thieves and criminals in that sector. You just have to, you can't allow people to do what they like. Because,
yes.
So regulation, yes. But there must be some restraint, accommodating people who are genuinely trying to live, but who are only illegal in the sense that they conform with these laws and regulations that are too, I don't know. It's a dilemma. Maybe your generation will find the answers. Some of us are running out of ideas. We've tried, we can't solve it in Nigeria. We are corrupt. My generation is corrupt, and so on. But we're looking to your generation, my children. I have a daughter. My last daughter is a lawyer. So I look up to them now. I say, our ideas may be stale now. We haven't solved the problem, but maybe your generation will find the answers.